welcome to my channel. I've got Harley Johnson with me, otherwise known as Durian Rider. If you don't know Durian Rider, a lot of old school sort of raw vegans or vegans may know him. He's been in the movement for a very, very long time, and he's going to do a video with me today. I started following Harley, we were just talking about it, probably about 8 or 9 years ago,
yep,
when he was still in the raw vegan movement, before he even started Raw Till 4. And probably met you in about 2012.
Yes.
Yep, so we've known each other for a few years and met up today in Adelaide. We're both in Adelaide at the same time, and we're just going to wing it. So this is a winging it video.
Ask me anything, any questions, anything.
All right, so welcome to my channel, Harley. I haven't been on YouTube for a long time, but Harley's sort of been kicking me up the butt about my social media and everything today. So I'm going to get my first video back with Harley, and hopefully I'm going to get some momentum of getting back online.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to talk to you about how you were in the raw vegan movement, and you're still a figure in the raw vegan movement as far as I'm concerned. You brought a lot in, and you've brought a lot of people into the raw vegan movement, including myself. What brought you to raw veganism?
Great question. Back in, I started vegan back in 2001, had some health issues, and as a cyclist, I was like, I wanted to be able to perform. And so I met this naturopath guy named Mark, and he was a bit loopy, but a intense, sort of passionate dude. I vibe with him. So I got to go vegetarian, clean out. And so I went vegetarian for about a week, and I felt instantly better after a couple of days. I felt lighter on my gut, no meat sitting in there. And then I learned about vegan, about the dairy industry. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a whirl. The animals aren't treated very well, and I just noticed a performance boost straight away as well. So I'm like, hey, that's helping the animals, it's helping the Australian environment, and it's helping my performance. I'm in, I'm all in. And that was back in, I think, April 2001, almost 19 years ago. So then I got into raw food about a year later. I read a book called Fit for Life. My friend Paul Reed said I should read the book called Fit for Life. Remember Fit for Life?
That was
Harvey
with
Diamond.
Yeah,
Harvey Marilyn Diamond. And
yeah.
I was talking about food combining.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, bang, it just made so much sense, and I tried it, and it was a game changer for me. So then I got into eating more fruit for breakfast, felt better straight away, and then I got more into raw food in 2002, found a book called Raw Life by Paul Nisson, and then I thought, I'm going to be 100% raw. And so I'd do that on and off with that, and that was a great experiment, and then went from there. So that's how I got into the pure raw food sort of stuff, was Paul Nisson 2002. Got into more fruit eating with Fit for Life, Harvey Diamond. Mm-hmm. My digestion just felt so much better having fruit for breakfast and then having my starches in the evening, aka sort of Raw Till 4. And then full circle, almost 20 years later, here we are today.
Right, and so when you first started in the raw vegan movement, was it predominantly higher fat before you started in the fruit?
I got into the nuts and the gourmet raw foods that everyone does. Like you have all these raw dishes, like you cut out rice and you think, oh, I'm going to have cauliflower rice with macadamia and walnut pesto, and so you're eating, definitely your fat grams goes up, and so my performance went down. But I thought, I'm achieving my goal of 100% raw, so emotionally I felt this, I was beating the system or whatever, but even though my performance was going down, emotionally my needs were getting met to some degree. But after a while, I was like, okay, I'm eating too much fat here. My performance is going down. I've got to eat more fruit. And then I found Doug Graham, and I found Doug Graham via Paul Nisson in that book, Raw Life.
And I mean, you still eat a high carb diet.
Every day, every meal.
Yeah, and you still eat a lot of fruit. You're not.
I have to have fruit. I have to have fruit in my day. If I don't have fruit in a day, it's not a good day. It's not as good of a day.
What do you feel the difference when you're not eating fruit in a day? Like I know for me, if I don't have fruit in my day, I just feel dehydrated. I can feel it in my skin. I feel flat in the head. I don't feel like I've got enough energy. Nothing seems to function right. I don't know about you.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say I don't have fruit, I make fruit. How do I make fruit? I get some cordial or fruit juice, put it in some water, and add sugar. So let's say I want to have 1,000 calorie fruit meal, then I'll add 200-300 grams of sugar into a water bottle with the fruit juice, and then I've made fruit. So that way I get that, the carbohydrate satiation. So I can work behind the computer, which I do like 10 hours a day. Otherwise, if you don't have sugar in your brain, working behind the computer, your eyes strain. It's just like, can't focus properly. And I don't use caffeine, or I very, very rarely use it. Any stims, very rarely use them. So I'm relying on my brain power, which is fueled by glucose. And so I make sure I get my glucose from my fruit. If I can't, then refined sugar for breakfast is just a secondary fruit option. Or unless I can find a bit of fruit, but it's not that sweet, I'll add the sugar to the fruit to make it high Brix value, so then I can get a 1,000-calorie fruit meal that I make, and that's a game changer. And I wish I knew that back in 2002. Add refined sugar to fruit, in my experience, is the total game changer. And I was saying before, do it with all my girlfriends, even secretly add sugar to their diet and just watch their performance go up mentally and physically. I remember even freely like lacing smoothies with refined sugar, and didn't tell her. She's like, this is really sweet. So yeah, there's dates really. So I had dates to it.
You didn't tell her?
I didn't tell her. And instantly, within an hour or two, her mood was just going up, and performance was going up. All these things were going up, and I was like, yeah. And then I told her. She's like, it worked. And it was a game changer. And then we started.
Was she angry at first?
Yeah, I remember back in the day, where.
Because you two were purists.
Yeah, we were.
You were purists.
We were purists. That was classic. I remember, some of the mistakes we made were hilarious. But because I come from a cycling background, which is carbohydrate, otherwise you fail. I was always a bit like, when Freely would make zucchini zoodles for dinner, and like, you want pasta, you shouldn't have that. You should have some carbohydrate, have some dates or bananas, because you're not going to be in a good mood tomorrow. You're going to be undercarbed and be hangry. And Freely being headstrong like me, she's like, don't tell me what to do. And so years went on like that until she started eating corn pasta and stuff like that, and her performances went up, and she lost weight, and it was more stable. And especially the refined sugar. The refined sugar was the game changer. We would drink soft drinks and sodas back before they started adding stevia and cutting the sugar like they do now. In Australia, Sprite is like, I can't even drink it. There's no calories in it really. It's just like dishwater chemicals. And so I'd make my own soft drinks by using just fruit juice with added sugar. Add more sugar to it and some water. So you've got this beautiful, easy to digest, cellular nutrition, feeding your glucose to your cells and your brains and your muscles. And it just works, a game changer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but again, it was against my purity mindset.
That's where I'm coming from.
I remember,
that was against your purity mindset, because
that's huge to overcome that.
Now, I can't remember the year. Was it 2012 or 2013 when you came out and you were eating the pizzas and you got barred from being a speaker at the Woodstock
Festival?
Yeah.
That was back in the day. That was more of a money issue with Doug Graham and stuff, and banned from the Pioneers list, etc. That wasn't never banned from the festival as such. And still talk with Mike and Victoria Arnstein, who I rate. And Mike's been on a good show there, so I might even be going back this year. Who knows? But
awesome.
So yeah, that was basically, being that cyclist, that nutrition experiment, and being a marathon runner, and just going, well, this raw food is not the ideal for people, but performance is going down because it's hard to always get like really high Brix value fruit. High Brix value meaning high sugar. So, and I was even seeing Mike Arnstein would do these races and he'd bomb out because he missed a feed station or he didn't have enough fruit. And I do just have your gels or Cliff Bars or your refined sugar just so you can win, And so he's doing that. His performance is going up. So then I was telling people, like, you always have a backup plan. Fruit's my ideal as well. I mean, I wish we were living under custard apple trees right now. Like a good custard apple is probably the best foods in the world. But we don't. We still need carbs, and so you got to have a backup plan. And yeah.
And I think that's great advice. I run raw vegan forums, and I have so many people who they're constantly on the cycle of raw vegan, binge eating on cooked food, the shame and guilt and everything they go through. Then all of a sudden they're back on fasting. Then they'll fast, and that whole cycle. And look, you've seen it. You've been in this movement for a very, very long time, and that whole movement. And it is harder in other countries. I've just been in Israel and Athens, and I know it was hard there to get fruit. Yeah. It was just a season.
Yeah.
And it's quite expensive.
Especially if you're not a local, you don't know where to get it from.
That's
and stuff.
The biggest issue.
When you're local, you get local knowledge.
Yeah, and you don't have it, so you're just like, where do I go? What do I do? And I learn a lot from that too. And I thought, life isn't as easy for everybody, and not everyone's got the access to money.
Yeah.
Not everyone can go and live in Asia like I am, to go and have fruit all the time and whatever. When you're living in Western countries, the price of produce is very expensive, and I
Nice.
have a lot of women who've got families
Yeah.
and everything else that follow me, and they're like, I can't afford it all because I've got to, for my kids. I get it.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give for these kind of women who are on that cycle?
That's why I created that Raw Till 4 lifestyle.
Yeah.
I remember the day I was going to cook up some rice. In 2010, me and Freelia were house sitting in this house, and there was rice in there, and there's a rice cooker, and she was cooking up some potatoes, and I'm like, these potatoes are great, but like they just give you glucose, which you get from fruit, but it takes so long, and there's so much food prep, and it's, it takes a lot of fat from around, so let's just use rice. And she's like, no, rice is shards of glass. And I remember, like, she grabbed the bag, and I think the bag split, went over the floor, and we were fighting over it. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, are you seriously going to say that glass is the same as rice? She's like, yes, rice is just shards of glass in your bowl. And in the end, she's got to see the joke of that. And I'm like, hang on, like, what's this purity mindset? What are we teaching here? Like,
I'm laughing because
you know.
I've had it. I've had that mindset too.
Yeah.
And it is. It's full on.
Yeah, and so...
it's hard work mentally.
Yeah, and anyway, so we cooked up the rice, and we ate it, we felt fantastic, stay hydrated beforehand, and performance went up, work rate went up, physical performance went up, because we were just getting a more consistent glucose intake. And so, and this is in 2010, that's when a lot of things changed in what we promoted, because hang on, like people are, trying to do this purity thing, and it might sell books or whatever, because people want to live in this magic world, but it's not pragmatic, it's not real world. And if it's not that, it's not going to last and be sustainable. So that's when things changed up. And I remember in 2009 with Fred Patnard in Thailand, and Fred was, that's when I was 100% raw, and Fred Patnard was eating noodles at night and stuff like that. And I remember drinking the sugarcane juice, and I was saying, hey, sugar's bad. I was saying, sugar's bad. It's Harley, what are you drinking? And so I said, sugarcane juice is full of life, it's full of minerals and enzymes, it's living. And he's like, yeah, that's true, but it's got sugar in it. It's got sucrose in it. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, but you're just saying sugar's bad, but you're drinking sugar. And I'm like, yeah, but it's raw. And he goes, no, it's sugar. And I was like, this cognitive dissonance bubble just popped. And I'm like, damn, he's right. But I didn't have refined sugar for like another year, even though cane juice is refined sugar,
Yeah.
it's not dehydrated. And even though I was dehydrating crackers and making flaxseed crackers and all these raw burgers.
All the fun stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and so now I was just going, okay, this is, let's look at macros, let's look at, carbohydrates, and so I finished the raw food. I call it dogma. I call it just noobness, where I wasn't understanding what I was actually eating was sugar. It's glucose and fructose and sucrose. And if it's raw or cooked, it's still under the microscope. The carbon bonds don't change. It's still glucose or fructose or sucrose, and your body can use that as fuel. And if you don't get enough, then you're going to be floundering in your emotions and physical output. So then I started adding refined sugar in 2010. I was in the Philippines, and I had these bananas, and they were glazed with this sugar coating. And I remember being really hungry, and there was no ripe bananas at the time, and I'm like, oh, these cooked bananas, and they had this sugar on it. I'm like, oh, I'll just try it. I won't tell anyone. And I tried it, and I remember eating it, and it hit my bloodstream, and I was just like, bam. I was like, this is how I used to feel as an athlete. And I just had this sugar, and I did this half marathon the next day, and I was just like, back in the game. And I was just like, refined sugar, that is just, it's the game changer. And people are like, oh, you were on a sugar high. It's like, no, my cells were getting enough sugar so they could work. So the mitochondria had the fuel. People say sugar's a drug, and it's like, well, sugar's a nutrient. It's found in fruit, it's found in rice, it's found in sugarcane, it's found in even grass has sugar in it. There's plant carbohydrates, aka starches, etc. And so understand the carbohydrates. I was like, okay, these people are writing books, Dave Wolf, etc., and they're not getting the results I want. So whilst they say some good things, I'm going to adapt to what actually does work.
So that's when we had the release of Raw Till 4, and that's when your popularity and Freely's really started to soar.
Yeah.
That's when you guys were huge.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And you've brought a lot of people. You brought a lot of people into the raw vegan movement,
Yep.
and also to fruit.
Yeah.
to fruit. And I was only telling you before I ever met Harley. Harley was a big part of my life. A lot of people say Freely brought them in. You brought me into the raw vegan movement. I found his videos really informative, and I liked his charisma. So for me, you were someone I could relate to.
Yes.
So I watched a lot of your videos, and I mean, even to this day, I mean, you know, there's a lot of hate out there for Harley.
Haters make you famous.
But people still say Harley or Freely brought me to fruit.
Yeah.
So, you know, you brought a lot of people to fruit, and no matter what, you whether they still look, there's not many people that are raw vegans. I would say on my forum there'd probably be maybe 10 to 15 people that permanently eat raw.
Yes.
But hi Natasha. Okay. So in my forum we've got plenty of people who eat raw till 4,
Yes.
so to speak. And I mean, that's predominantly a lot through the work of you and Freely. But one other thing that you constantly preach over and over, and you have for years and years and years, is no fasting.
No, not a fan of the fasting.
And you've both preached that. And
I used to be a fan of fasting.
yeah.
Not anymore.
So what made the changes there?
In 2009, a lady me and Freely were living with named V, she died during a water fast at home. And V was like a long-term raw foodie, like 30 years into raw food. But again, she would not eat enough fruit, and then she would go and binge out on meat and just pasta and, you know, wherever. And I'm not saying this to like be mean. I'm just just teaching people human physiology. If you don't get enough fruit or carbs or whatever, you're gonna have to have a backup source. So that backup source better be something good. So she'd eat the meat. She had food poisoning and gut issues, and so then she'd fast it off. And I'm like, V, just be vegan, and you know, you don't have to have that food poisoning risk, blah blah. She's no, I've got to be raw. I'm like, oh, she's like, all cooked food's poison. It's all the same. So, which is a really really bad belief to have, because not all cooked food's the same. Not all food's the same. Not all raw food is the same.
No, of course.
There's raw foods out there that'll kill you in 5 seconds after eating them. So it's, you know, so yeah, fasting, seeing her die, I was just like, man, I can't recommend fasting. And I was at Doug with Graham's fasting retreat. I was you know,
you did the water fasting.
I didn't water fast. I was just, you know, like helping out there sort of thing. The what they call it, I was you know, at the event 24/7, talking to people fasting, watching them afterwards,
supporting them.
And I remember one girl, my friend Christine, she did a water fast, and she was so weak after the fast. I remember carrying her in Costa Rica from where we were at up this hill. Like, she was just so weak, and she was like, and I remember her being on my back, and her energy was just so low, and I'm like, I feel like I'm rescuing someone from from like a
concentration camp.
Yeah, or just like they've, you know, I feel like and the energy was not there. She was not there, and I knew her beforehand. She had a lot of energy, and I just thinking, this fasting thing, man, is like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. And I just thought it was a big money making hustle, and then there was some controversy with how Doug treated some of his fasting patients.
Yeah,
and,
I remember one of the stories.
There's
that came
people
out.
dying there. There was another guy, my friend Emilio, who I met through Doug's events. He got put in a mental institution during the fast, and that was all hushed under. And I was like, fasting doesn't make people better. I mean, you got a few exceptions out there. Guys like Grant, he did a water fasting back in 2007. Grant Campbell, I speak of him now and then, and good guy. I remember seeing Grant in Chanthaburi, Thailand after his fast, and his face was like so fat. And I was like, holy heck, like, what's fasting doing to people? What's doing to our thyroid? What's doing to our aldosterone levels? And I'm not a fan of fasting. And people will be like, oh yeah, you're just like
of course,
addicted to cooked food, Harley, you're this or that. And I'm like, I've been in this scene for almost 2 decades, and I've seen behind the scenes. I've seen friends die, and so my perception is a lot different to what it was as a total noob out there, just reading Hilton Hatima and, you know, TC Fry and Natural Hygiene and all these people out there, the breatharians and Jazz Machine, all this stuff. And yeah, so I'm coming from a place of authenticity and personal experience.
The new thing now in the raw vegan movement is dry fasting.
It's even worse.
Yeah. And it's a big thing. and everyone's
It's big, isn't it? Like,
it's huge.
nuts.
I mean,
Who's the main proponent of that? Is it Robert Morse?
yeah,
were saying before,
Robert. Well, I think, and there's a big cult following with Robert Morse, and you know, it's. I find his followers. I mean, I'm going to probably get attacked for saying this,
So
but
it's just opinions.
but I do find that his followers do drive fast, and I mean, we recently saw Robert Lockhart die.
Yeah,
And,
I know Rob for about a decade.
Yeah. And what are your views on dehydrating your body and not having hydration?
I mean, I met Rob in 2009. He came to a retreat me and Freddie put on at my friend Clint's farm in Mareeba, North Queensland. And Rob turned up and he looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he looked like an older dude. He looked athletic. He looked in shape.
Yeah.
And he started getting into the fast and calorie restriction, and his condition deteriorated in a year.
Wow.
Like, he looked like shit. And some people might say, Harley, you look like crap. It's okay, but I can run fast. I can ride my bike with world-class riders. I have elite level fitness. And Rob went from this guy who had decent level of fitness and strength to,
Well, he was walking on his hands.
but he used to like walk
Yeah.
a marathon in his hands.
Yeah.
before that, so his performance declined rapidly. And as an athlete, as a coach, whenever I see someone's performance decline, I'm like, this ain't working.
Yeah.
This ain't working. And so I saw Rob's decline, and I was like, what are you doing? I was like, no, this is not good. And I said, you should eat some cooked food, get more calories in, or at least add sugar to your smoothies, man. So you
Yeah.
got some muscle density, some muscle glycogen. And he started getting this dry fasting and orthorexia and that purity mindset. And then the end, last time I saw Rob, I think it was in 2018 in the Philippines. And he saw me, and he just said, hey, Harley. And he just kept walking. Because I was always on his back.
Yeah, yeah,
Rob,
yeah.
Eat, drink. And I truly believe that he had just a massive case of anorexia. And it was just disguising that with dry fasting and purity.
Do you think fasting's addictive?
Yeah, it's very addictive, because if someone's got anorexia or whatever, it gives them this like massive moral support group. You can go on YouTube and say, I'm doing a water fast, and all these people are like, oh my God, this is so amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can have this raging anorexia under the guise of I'm doing a water fast, I'm cleaning, I'm detoxing, and people will even maybe pay you for it or reward you. When in the past, anorexia doesn't get really much support.
Yeah, of course.
But now on social media, especially the water fasting, it can get a lot of support.
Or breathe aeratism.
Breath, even like guys like Tim Sheaf, when he did
Yeah.
his water fast, I said he's gonna smash his performance. He'll never be as fit as he ever was. He never was. And I said he won't be vegan when he finishes. And I was
And
right.
you were right.
Yeah,
You're right.
people say, oh, you're being mean. You're just jealous. I'm like, not, man. Like, I'm being the person who's being real, and as a coach and seeing it, that's just reality, man. Fasting will stuff you up massively. How about just eat and live healthy? Eat and live high carb vegan, smashing your fruit, raw till 4, early nights, emotional poise, those things. That's what will give you the health and condition and lean and fit and vibrancy. You can try the other ways, and you might get it for a week or a month or a year, but it won't be sustainable. And I can say that after coaching thousands and thousands of people. And hang out with Doug Graham, hang out with Dave Wolf, hang out with all the people behind the scenes. I've got some crazy stories out
Well,
there.
you know all the original leaders in the raw vegan movement.
Hang out with David
Yep.
Klein and all sorts of crew.
And I mean, you've seen a lot
Paul Nissan.
over the years, and you've seen like many people, like even the younger crowd who put themselves out as raw vegan leaders, who then got heavily involved in fasting, and then they've returned to meat. Like you look at even like Ravana, Elise, people like that, and they were starving themselves, and now they're not vegan. And I mean, look, a lot of people come into the raw vegan movement, and they're not looking for veganism, so to speak. They're looking in the health perspective. And I mean, most people, I honestly believe, who come into the raw vegan movement who aren't vegan, they're looking at it for the cosmetic sort of side of it, or health side of it.
99%.
Yeah, of course.
Because no one's doing a water fast if they're going to gain weight.
Of course.
You know what I mean? If the water fasting made you fatter, and it does, because afterwards your thyroid's low, you get hypothyroid issues. Every time after a fast, pretty much I've seen, people's face blows out from thyroid issues. But if someone's like, if it was known that fasting made you gain weight every day, how many people would fast?
No one.
I'm fasting for healing. I'm not fasting for weight loss, Harley. It's like, yeah, you are. Because if you gained a kilo a day during your fast, you would stop instantly.
No, unless you're genuinely sick. We're not talking about people who are genuinely sick, genuine cases who are in hope that that's going to heal their body or
Yeah,
whatever.
they reserve a minority.
Yeah, but we're talking about regular, everyday people. They're not going to be in there saying, "I'm going to go on a fast for no reason." They want it for cosmetic reasons. And
900%.
I see this in my group so often, like all the time, and it's something I've had banned from my groups for a long time.
Good.
I receive hate for it all the time.
Good.
Oh, she doesn't like fasting.
Good.
But one of the main reasons is, one, I know it triggers binge eating.
100%.
Two,
On the wrong things as well. You ain't binging on rice and fruit and corn. You're going to
No.
meat lovers, bacon double triple cheeseburger, Hungry Jack's Mac and
or
burgers.
even you're going to binge on vegan junk food or whatever. You are
I
going to
generally find that people break. The fastest way to make a vegan ex-vegan, do a water fast.
Well, I
From
think
what I've seen.
you are. That is right. Years ago, this is before I was vegan, before I was ever vegan.
Yeah.
I went on a 30-day juice fast, and I was so proud. Like 30 days, like oh my god. And we went down to the Barbecue Inn.
Yeah.
That's you know it's in Glenelg, but it's a place that just sells predominantly just meat, and
Yeah.
you get like a plate of meat. And we went down to the Barbecue Inn like 2 days after that. Can you imagine? You've cleaned your body out, you're all clean,
Yep.
you've just been having pure fruit juices,
Feeling light.
and then all of a sudden you're just gorging down on meat. And
Hunger.
yeah, because your body's
Massively
starving.
hungry.
Body's starving. I probably ate over 1.5 kilos of meat. I mean, that's gross. I mean, I couldn't.
That's just your response from the starvation.
Yeah, and I couldn't think about doing that now. But I often wondered when Rawvana and Elise. This really has gone off on a tangent.
So fine, that's good. That's what YouTube's about.
And when Rawvana and Elise, they went
Real
back,
talk.
Yeah, when they went back to meat, I honestly thought with all the fasting they were doing, I thought, you know what, they've done that because you can keep your weight down still when you're eating meat or eating higher fat because you need less. And in their head, this is in their mindset, they're starving, they're wanting that food, they needed energy because they've starved their body, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, one minute you saw, I think at least she was eating raw crackers or something in avocado, and next thing you know, she was having a 1 kilo steak on her plate because I believe her body was starving.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. You like when you're hungry, like you eat each other. Like in China, in the 60s there was a massive famine, and they were selling all the grain, most of the grain to the US to feed all the livestock over there because of the boom of the burgers and McDonald's. So they had all this meat being produced in the US. They needed grain for it. China was growing the grain. So long story short, there was not much food around. So there's a massive famine. Google up the Great China Famine in the 1960s. There was a law where you could eat children. It's called swap child, make food. So you'd swap your kid with your neighbour's kid. This ain't no swingers.
Oh, so you didn't eat your own kid?
So you're eating your neighbour's kid.
Oh, good.
Right?
Right.
That's why China now is so crazy. They'll eat anything because
oh my God, I've got to look that up.
Yeah, people don't know this. This is the sort of stuff I read.
That's insane.
This is in the 60s, not even that long ago.
And people are grossed out that they're eating bats. Well, of course they're going to eat a bat.
Because they came from their generation, the baby boomers, from the famine era. So there's this like.
But they only were allowed one kid, so like they're going to eat their one kid.
Yeah. Well, this is before that.
Before that.
60s.
Right, before the law.
And so this is what I see. This is when humans are hungry, they'll eat anything. And there's a great book to read, a study called the book of the biology of human starvation by Ansel Keys.
Okay.
And it's done in the 40s when in Minnesota they had this like football stadium, and they had all these like people that were starving down to design like a calorie feeding system for the prisoner of war camp people. And it was just incredible reading. These guys were starving down, like average looking dudes back in the 40s, good looking strapping lads, and they'd starve them down on like 1,500 calories a day until they hit a certain weight. It was the same body mass index as the prisoner of war camp people. And these guys were going crazy. They were like walking out of town, they were going through bins, they were like, and they were cheating on their food, and some guys weren't losing weight. And the scientists are going, man, like maybe some people just can't lose weight. And they follow these guys, and they were going through the bins, they were stealing food from people. One guy even mugged someone for a sandwich.
Oh, wow.
And they lost interest in women and everything. It was an incredible read. And you can basically pick any raw food dude or faster and just put them in that same boat. Their behaviour afterwards is the same. And after the starvation, all these guys gained way more weight than normal.
Yep.
And they're just like, what's going on? They worked out it's thyroid damage.
Yeah, and I would believe that because I know the start of me having my big problems with weight gain
Yeah.
was after my juice fast.
Bingo.
Yeah.
If you want to gain weight, damage your thyroid, do a juice fast.
Yeah, and I thought, you know what? Oh my God, I'm doing so good. And I used to promote them. I openly admit that I don't
me
promote.
too.
I don't promote juice
me
fasting
never.
anymore because,
Slows your thyroid down.
yeah. And I just see it with young girls, and it really worries me. I mean, look, if you're middle age or my age, whatever, I still don't agree with it, but you're old enough to make your own decisions and whatever. You've had your life. But I see, you know, I'm talking 16 to 25-year-olds. They're young, they're impressionable, they're looking for, you know, looking good. They're seeing what their friend, you know, somebody on social media looking good. They want to look like that too, whatever, and they're following suit. And it really scares me. It's really damaging. You know, I'm a mother of a person who's, you know, she's 22, and I worry so much for the young girls. I just think, you know, is this what it's down to, that we've got these gurus that they're going to be promoting us to live on air, water and fruit juice? It's not sustainable. It's really not. And I mean, I was only telling you before we were on video that I've been telling people, if you cannot sustain raw veganism, I mean, obviously the majority of people who follow me are interested in eating raw, and I know from my own experiences, I mean, I've been trying to do this for 7 years, and I've openly told people I've slipped and fallen a million times because it's hard. It's hard, and even if you're in the best places in the world to eat raw veganism, life happens, and you know,
it's logistically very challenging.
Of course, and I often tell people, look, if you can't sustain it, you know, you have to have backup plans. If you don't have a backup plan, you're going to find yourself back eating meat or back where you started on whatever diet that you were on beforehand, because we're creatures of habit.
Yeah, body's smart. It just goes back to what it's used to.
Of course, and it's easier. Our brain says, oh, back in the comfort zone, love it. And we're happy in our comfort zone. And you know, the most important thing, especially if you're coming in as a meat eater, is not to look at fasting, and it's so heavily promoted, and it drives me absolutely nuts.
Me too.
People go, three-day fast, it fixes everything. No, it doesn't, because you're going to end up binging. You don't know any, especially if you're new to the movement, you don't understand how to eat to sustain this lifestyle. And then the next thing you know, you're back to your old habits and, oh, this lifestyle doesn't work. Yeah, well, it does, but you've got to have backup plan. For me, if I didn't make my salad or anything, I know how to cook vegan food. I know how to make vegan food. I know how to access vegan food. So for me, I know if all else fails, I'm always going to remain vegan.
Yeah.
But for someone coming in new for the vegan movement, and they're just getting told, go on a 3-day water fast and just eat fruit. They don't know the amount. They're setting themselves up for failure.
That's why I see a lot of ex-vegans out there.
That's why
Public
there's plenty.
ex-vegans. People say, I went vegan, I feel crap.
Yeah, because you're not eating enough, and you're fasting, and you're listening to people, and that is the one message I love that you and Freely have always put out, is the no fasting and make sure you eat enough. I mean, most people who are my generation have been following you guys for a long time. We all know the carb the fuck up message.
Yeah.
And everybody, you know, whether they use the F word or whatever.
Carb the fruit up.
Yeah, but they
Carb the fructose up.
Yeah, but everybody knows that message, but it's not, we don't hear it as much anymore.
Yeah.
It's not spoken out about as much anymore. It's become trendy to dry fast, intermittent fast. Water fast is back in bigger than ever. You know, who's the biggest faster? Who can we follow who's starving themselves the most? And it's not sustainable.
Yeah, people are going to learn the hard way. And I remember even Freely when I met Freely, before we were together, she was doing a water fast at work. Freely was that desperate to lose weight. She was doing a water fast at work. Works as a personal trainer.
Oh, God.
So she's lifting up weights and training people while she's on water for 7 days. So that's how dedicated she was. And that just made her gain so much weight afterwards. Her thyroid just got smashed. She lost all this fitness. And then we got together, I'm trying to convince her to eat more and not calorie restrict. She's like, no, but you're a guy, you know. And I was like, look, I'm a skinny dude. She's like, you're right. And I said, I'm a cyclist, and it's all about weight, power to weight. if you want to be your skinniest freely, listen to me. Ignore all everyone else. I said, eat. And it took probably a few years in our relationship for her to really trust me. But when she did, her results came quick and they came hard. And then we put it on the YouTube and, you know, showed off with some skin. She didn't even want to do that. She said, no. I said, come on, you know, just get inspired. Women won't want to follow me. They want to follow a woman.
Yeah, of course, predominantly.
Yeah, so I basically
sure.
sort of manufactured Freely into what she wanted to anyway, and then went from there. So that was just like an example. Freely came from a fasting background. It destroyed her fitness. It made her gain weight. At one point, she was like about 73 kilos, which is about a lot more than I was at the time. So, and yeah, metabolic damage is real. I mean, Freely was 73 kilos, eating tomatoes, a bit of fruit, zoodles.
Yeah.
And that's like, people said, no, she was cheating. She wasn't. We were together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There was nothing going on there. But her body was here. Thyroid was just like cooked from the fasting.
Well, she even went on, I remember watching this years ago, she went on that big bike ride around Australia to try and lose weight.
Across Australia, yeah. In 2008, she rode
Yeah.
from Adelaide to Toowoomba.
Yeah.
And that didn't do nothing for her.
Yeah.
Because her thyroid was still, she did it in middle, this is how dedicated Freddie was. Can you imagine this? Middle of winter, Adelaide cold winter, just on raw food, cycling across Australia, and she'd only been riding for like 6 months. That is dedication. I wouldn't even do that. That's like nuts. Winter on just raw food. And she didn't lose a single pound because her thyroid was so damaged. You know, and she was hauling a big heavy trailer. And so coaching Freely over the years taught me so much about human physiology. And so it was just amazing that, you know, nothing beats, the thyroid determines what weight you're going to have. So if you're doing a water fast, it's going to slow down your thyroid. Your T3 and your T4 levels will drop right down, your TSH will go up, and your body's just going to hold on to weight. It's going to produce more weight, mostly water, edema, because it's going to want to put this in you're trained in a survival of a famine situation.
Yeah, because your body's gone into survival mode.
And we live in a calories in, calories out world, which is not true. Thyroid determines everything, you know. And then your other hormones, estrogen, testosterone, also are factors. But thyroid is like, the main one. That controls your metabolism. So understanding that, that's why I tell people, you've got to understand how hormones work, and that instantly overrides any dietary dogma. And so that's why I can speak with such conviction and passion, because I've taken someone like Freely, who was overweight, massively out of shape, and getting older. She wasn't 20 anymore, and she had a really bad metabolism from street drugs and gym drugs and starving and water fasting, and boom, turn her into really keep doing really well.
Well, turn her into a superstar, and it's not just that. I mean, Freely still maintains her body till today
because she's still on the high carb, low fat, vegan, fruit, rice, sugar program. And I remember even when Freely was smashing the sugar, I was like, you should teach this to your audience more. She's like, no, use coconut sugar, don't show the refined sugar.
Yeah, because we were just having that conversation.
Yeah, because people will be like, people won't, watch it. I'm like, it's better to tell people the truth so they can actually get your results than tell them some bullshit they want to hear and not get results. I don't know, if I was a young woman or whatever and I wanted to...
any age women, we sort of do want to know the truth to get the results you want.
And so that's where Freely's done her audience a big disservice by not telling the full truth. She tells a half truth. I'm not trying to shade her here now. I'm just saying that it's like these guys who do steroids and and they totally lie about it. And so these teenage guys buying ebooks and I want to look like Athlean X or someone. And it's like, well, unless you're taking the gear, you ain't gonna look like that ever. And so these people do a disservice, by not telling people the whole thing, and then they're never gonna get results you get, and then that doesn't help the vegan movement or whatever. So anyway, that's my little rant.
No, that's good. No, well, that's what I wanted. I wanted to talk about fasting in this video because it's something I'm strong about.
Devastating.
And it's something I want to link people to when, they're asking me.
Because people don't see afterwards. They just see a before and after photo.
Yeah. And
go, I'm in. They don't see afterwards. They don't see the emotional decline. They don't see the thyroid damage. They don't see a year later. They don't see the fact that, even someone like Ravana had to continually eat less and less and less for fear of weight gain.
And that's what I was trying to say with when they, her or Elise went back to the meat, it was so they could eat less. Just to maintain that tiny frame.
Yeah.
And
but they're not even that tiny,
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen them in person, but I think you. Well, I know you've met Ravana. You met Elise?
No, but I've seen photos of her standing next to friends of mine, and it's I'm just saying that you can have a lot better results on plants than animal product.
Oh, plants are everything.
Especially for a woman who wants to be slimmer, it's just a lot easier. Like if you're, you know, like, what's the saying? If someone has a cheat meal or whatever they call it on plants, let's say you're gonna eat, let's say I'm eating Rebel Whoppers from Hungry Jack's, which I love. You know, they will be a bit more anabolic, but not as anabolic as a meat Whopper. You know, animal products, if you're smashing them in hard, you're going to be a lot heavier than someone who's just smashing in plants hard. So, for people out there who want to be the thinnest of the thin, but still be healthy, not anorexic, but you know, just slim, it's going to be a lot easier with plants, in my experience.
Perfect. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Harley?
That's about it. Just, yeah, never cut your carb calories, otherwise you're going to be floundering.
Okay. For those who don't know Harley, which most of you probably do, it's Durian Rider, but I'm going to link his YouTube channel and his Instagram in the description. Thanks for joining me on my channel. Thanks for getting me off my butt and putting a video up. We haven't got it there yet, but no, I'm going to post it today.
Yeah.
Love life, live free, and see you next time.
See you soon.
Bye.